Hello and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News. Today I want to tell you about the top 3 pressing gun issues we all need to act on right now. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the fine mahogany night vision products with custom Corinthian leather trim offered to you by our friends at TNVC.com. Artfully handcrafted by earnest, hardworking Amish operators, TNVC night vision is unique and uncompromising, just like you. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, TNVC.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. There's a lot going on in the gun rights world at the moment, with all the various court battles and control-freak garbage squeezins introduced in Congress, and states passing pro-gun legislation. It's hard to keep up with all of it. I don't mean to imply that any of it is less important, but some of these bad laws are almost certain to fail, and on other issues there really isn't much you can do to help other than send money to the gun rights organizations who are involved. And although it all matters in the long run, let's be honest, some new safe storage law in Oregon only really has a direct, immediate impact on you if you live there. So while I'm sure you are each interested in all gun rights advocacy, I also understand we often end up talking about things which either don't directly affect you or you can't change. But today, I'm going to tell you about 3 issues which affect all Americans and urgently require your involvement. The first issue is pistol stabilizing braces. We recently covered the proposed ATF rule change, and if you haven't seen that episode, check the link in the description and we'll probably throw a card right there. But here's what you need to know. Handguns are defined by federal law as firearms which have a short stock designed to be gripped by one hand. Pistol braces make it easier to shoot large pistols with one hand and make it possible for people with certain disabilities to be able to shoot some guns at all. The ATF has changed its fickle collective hive mind multiple times over the years regarding braces. They went from being totally cool to having zero chill at all. This recent proposed rule change amounts to a score sheet, and if you get more than 4 points, you're out. But before you even get to play, the firearm must weigh at least as much as a thirst buster and have an overall length of less than 26 inches. That means any AR-based firearm with a barrel longer than 10.5 inches would automatically fail. Even a 10.5-inch AR with an A2 flash hider is just over that 26-inch line if it has a standard carbine length buffer tube. Then you move down the score sheet and start racking up the points. If you hit 4 points, you're out. Some of these items are things we saw coming based on previous ATF letters. For example, a length of pull greater than 13.5 inches is an automatic 4 points, because reasons. You get 2 points for a folding adapter or a hand stop, or if the strap on your cuff type brace is made of elastic material, or if you're using a red dot with flip to side magnifier. You get 1 point for having rifle type iron sights, whether fixed or flip up, or for not having any sights at all. You get 4 points and are automatically out if the whole thing weighs more than 2 thirst busters. You'll have to review the score sheet yourself to find out if your character build would be approved, and we'll link the score sheet down there in the doobly-doo, but it's important to remember the ATF doesn't write law as much as they'd like to think they do.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you?
So this score sheet really doesn't mean much of anything. Theoretically, it does mean they're saying they would be willing to bring charges for any device which violates the score sheet, but in practice, I'm thinking they want this issue to stay out of court as long as they can, because it's possible they could lose really big. So in reality, the only substantive effect would be to chill sales of brace-equipped firearms. What should we do about it? Well, firstly, this is just a proposed rule. The ATF will be opening yet another comment period on it, so when they do, be sure to add your thoughts, and we will link in the description. Second, contact your Congress critters and let them know what you think also. Finally, donate generously to the FPC, GOA, SAF, and any other gun rights organization which is actually out there fighting for your rights. The second issue, which I think is important for all of you to act on, is home-built firearms. It has always been legal to build guns at home for your own use in America, and as technology advances, it gets easier. Building firearms at home undermines the attempts by the establishment to control the people. After all, gun control was never about guns, it was always about control. So they rage and they scream and they try to prevent the dissemination of knowledge. New Jersey Attorney General Gerber Gruel sued Defense Distributed in an attempt to stop them from publishing plans to make guns. The Ministry of Truth, right here at the Tube of Views, demonetizes and suppresses any video we make if we even hint at how easy it is to build guns. And the legacy media propagandizes for the authoritarian state with their breathless repetition of loaded nonsense terms like ghost gun, which falsely implies some sort of undetectable, untraceable phantasm of a firearm. The truth is, an 80% firearm is not a real gun. 80% isn't even a real anything at all. It's just an arbitrary term used to indicate a lump of vaguely gun-shaped metal. The truth is, any person who can find the pointy end of a drill can make a functioning firearm out of $20 worth of plumbing supplies. And any reasonably competent person can follow publicly available plans to make an AR-15 out of aluminum plate or even Lego blocks. What the ATF is trying to do is to invent a new definition of receiver out of whole cloth, simply decreeing that practically any part or parts which contain fire control parts is a receiver, and they are simply proclaiming that companies which manufacture things that aren't guns, that is to say unfinished receivers, to print their company name, city, and state on these things which aren't guns, as well as their FFL number and serial number, bearing in mind we're still talking about parts which are not guns yet. But somebody's thinking about making it into a gun, somewhere, someday, probably. Like the proposed rule change for braces, the ATF is again audaciously seizing the power to write law from Congress and pretending they have the authority to decide for themselves what the law ought to be if it happens to be inconveniently worded for their tastes. And what we plan to do about it is the same. Use the link down below to write your comment on the proposed rule change. Tell them the definition of a firearm frame or receiver given in the 1968 Gun Control Act is quite clear enough, and they need to stay within their regulatory bounds. Tell them if a piece of metal or plastic isn't finished into a gun, then it isn't a gun, and their job isn't to try to make home manufacture more difficult, no matter what their feelings are on it. And call your senators and representatives and urge them to assert their legislative power. Regardless of how they view this subject, remind them it is their responsibility to write law, and they should not allow the ATF to usurp their authority. And once again, donate to the FPC, GOA, SAF, and any other gun rights organizations which are actually out there fighting for our rights. And the third issue we're asking you to do your part on is David Chipman's nomination as ATF director. Chipman was a lobbyist for various control freak organizations under Bloomberg's control for decades, where he very publicly lied on the record and under oath in congressional hearings, making bizarre and obviously fantastical claims about cult members firing 50 cal rifles at ATF helicopters. I don't know whether it's more disturbing if he was just unaware of how easy it is to verify he was lying, or if he just doesn't care. Either way, he is an untrustworthy propagandist. He cannot perform his duties in anything approaching good faith. It is clear Uncle Touchy's secret basement wonderland intends to use Chipman's total lack of moral compass to impose their authoritarian agenda. They know they're wrong. They know they'll lose in court, but they also know it will take us a good decade or so to undo all the damage he can do. I saved this one for last because this is the one that really needs every single one of us to act over and over until the Senate votes. No matter where you live, I want you to pick one of these 6 senators and call them right now. Pause the video and dial 202-224-3121 and ask to speak with any of these 6 senators on your screen. Call back and talk with as many of them as you have the stomach for. Tell them Chipman is a dishonest anti-gun activist who cannot be trusted to act in good faith. Urge them to vote against his confirmation. Keep it brief and courteous. If you don't lift a finger to do anything else for gun rights this year, please at least just call one of these 6 senators. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things because I sure like making them for you. Hey kids, do you want to get email alerts for the best deals, projects we're working on, and the hottest stuff you missed on the ARFCOM forums? You bet you do. So go ahead and hit the Linktree link down there in the doobly-doo and sign up for our newsletter. And remember, our robot overlords in the tube of yous know what we want better than we do ourselves, so they routinely unsubscribe viewers from channels which could contain wrongthink like our own. That makes puppies cry, and Captain America is very disappointed. So don't forget to check every now and then and be sure you are still subscribed to us, and then ring that notification bell to stay in the know on all the 2A news. If you want to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com give you night vision with that cool, refreshing, never bitter taste that goes down smooth, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump in the night. I love you.